everyone, my name is Hannah and I'm a nutrition educator with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Jefferson County. Today I'm going to be showing you a really easy recipe for some turkey meatballs. I really like this as a recipe for meatballs because it has a lot of herbs and spices in it, so it's jam-packed with flavor. It also has a base of ground turkey, which is a leaner meat, so a little bit lower in saturated fat, a little bit healthier, and I think it just has a little bit of a lighter taste on your palate. So let's go ahead and get started. First, preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Next, gather all of your ingredients. So the first step in making our meatballs is just going to be to add all of our ingredients to the bowl. So we've got about a half cup of onions. And I've got about 5 ounces of spinach here. So this was frozen spinach that I thawed and I drained it really well, squeezing all the water out. This will prevent our meatballs from getting soggy, but it adds a little bit of extra vegetables. So if you're just starting out and you're trying to add more vegetables into your diet, it can seem overwhelming to make big changes all at once and start having huge piles of vegetables at every meal. So I recommend incorporating them when you can. So having a little bit of extra spinach in your meatballs, having a few extra carrot sticks, small changes will go a long way to helping increase your vegetable intake and increasing overall health. So then I'm going to add my egg. I've mentioned in previous videos that it's best to actually break it on a flat surface, so not the edge of the bowl, but on a counter or something like that. There we go. That helps prevent eggshells from falling in. And I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands now because I have some raw egg on them. And I'm going to go ahead and add in my herbs. So I've got some dried basil, some dried parsley, some garlic powder, and some onion powder. So I'm going to do a teaspoon of each of the onion and the garlic powder. And then a teaspoon of the garlic powder. And I'm okay if a little bit extra goes in because I like my garlic. All right, and then I'm gonna need a tablespoon or a teaspoon and a half of garlic and parsley. So I'm gonna use my half teaspoon measure to measure that out. So here's my parsley. Do about 1, 2, 3. If you're making this and you have an herb garden or access to fresh herbs, you could definitely use those in place of the dried herbs. Bring a little extra flavor. And then the same for the dried basil. 1, 2, 3. So my family likes a little bit of spicy foods, as you may have figured out by watching some of my other videos. So I'm going to add in a little bit of crushed red pepper, just for a little bit of spiciness. So I just give it a few shakes. You can kind of see how much that is. All right, but that part is completely optional. You do not have to add that if you don't want to. And then the last spice that I'm going to add is going to be some ground black pepper. So just a few good cranks there. Give it in that beautiful flavor. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add in my ground turkey. You'll notice I do have some breadcrumbs here. I'm gonna wait to add these in till the end so that they don't absorb all the liquid right away and I can kind of get it mixed together first. This will help with a good texture. Go ahead and just add my raw meat in. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and dig in with my hands. So I'm gonna make sure I wanna remove my rings, make sure if you're wearing any jewelry, it's pushed up off your wrists. And then just go ahead and mix it well. So we're just gonna make sure that it's just barely incorporated because we still have to add our breadcrumbs. We don't wanna over mix it. That can kind of make your meatballs a little bit tough. All right, so it's just mostly mixed together there. I'm gonna go ahead and just add my breadcrumbs in with my messy fingers, and the measuring cup is gonna go right in the sink to be washed. All right, so now we can go ahead and do a little bit better job of mixing. One other thing, it's important to have your turkey or whatever your ground meat is as cold as possible. This doesn't mean frozen, but just making sure that it hasn't been sitting out on the counter. This helps keep it safer because bacteria won't have time to grow, but also it will make the texture a little bit better. So that's about as well mixed as I want it to be. I'm gonna go ahead and wash my hands before the next step. So now for baking my meatballs, I have my prepared baking sheet. I like to use these kind of silicone baking mats. They kind of prevent my pans from getting too sticky. You could use parchment paper. If you don't have either of those, you could use like a non-stick cooking spray and spray your pan really well to make sure it doesn't stick. Now we want each of our meatballs to be about the same size. That way they cook at the same time and we aren't left with raw patches in any of them. So I'm going to use an ice cream scoop to use it. You could use just a normal spoon if you have one. Go ahead and get about this much. So it's almost all the way full, but it's not heaping. Just gently roll it into a ball. So now I'm going to put these in the oven. I know that one way for cooking meatballs is you could cook them straight in the sauce. I like cooking them in the oven for a little bit until they're fully cooked. That way they'll get nice and crispy on the outside. The other thing is they will shrink as they go in the oven. So you want to make sure that they're not too close together, but you can fit a decent sized amount in the pan. If you put them too close together, they might steam instead of brown, and that's the point of putting them in the oven, is to get that nice browning. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. If you have a larger family or inviting more people over and maybe not everyone's getting as many meatballs, you could definitely divide them up into smaller amounts and do 2 trays, something like that. So I'm gonna put this in the oven. It preheated to 400, and I'm gonna put them in to start off with at 20 minutes. It's been 25 minutes now because I had slightly bigger meatballs, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the temperature. I'm gonna go right in the center, one of the big ones, and I'm looking for 165. Yep, we're there. I'm gonna temp one maybe in each row, just to be sure. But yep, these are perfectly done. Okay, so I'm gonna go set them over on the side to cool. So my meatballs are now done. While they were cooking, I took the opportunity to wash my dishes. I made sure to sanitize my counters really well, just in case any bacteria from the raw meat got anywhere, any specks of raw meat. So making sure that was super clean. These are ready to go now. You can put them straight on your pasta and ladle sauce over top. If you wanted to make a big batch all at once and then freeze some for a future meal, these are also really great for that. I would recommend only cooking them maybe about 20 minutes. They might not be completely done, but then freezing them on the tray, you can then transfer them to a Ziploc bag and reheating them in your sauce. So from frozen, put them straight into your spaghetti sauce, heat them up through there, making sure to take the temperature at the end and that they do get to that 165 degrees.